Welcome to What's Best Forum's Masters and Makers interview series. Today we are going to get answers to questions from Daniel Gullman and Jonathan Gullman, co-founders of MSB. This is a slightly different format than we usually do because Jonathan and Daniel wanted to record their answers in their own video recording studio.
Hello, What's Best Forum. My name is Daniel Gullman, and I am a co-owner and industrial designer here at MSB Technology.
And I'm Jonathan Gullman, co-owner and CEO of MSB.
Today we'd like to take some time to answer some questions that have been prepared by Ron Resnick, so thank you for doing that. We're excited to share a little bit about our company and what we do here, and just kind of get a feel for some of our thoughts on audio.
Do you write the schematic for every component yourselves, or do you work with any kind of outside consultants?
Here at MSB, we do all of our own design work in-house. We have our own engineers, we do our own schematic design, circuit board layout, and code writing. Everything is under the same roof where we design, develop, and manufacture all of our own equipment.
Yeah, that specialization allows us to hyper-focus on what is critical for audio applications, and we're not encumbered by any of the other off-the-shelf solutions that aren't necessarily going to focus on audio.
I understand you use a sine magnitude ladder type of R2R DAC. How is your sine magnitude ladder DAC better than the Burr-Brown sine magnitude DAC?
But first, our DACs are not traditional sine magnitude ladder DACs, and they are not generic R2R DACs. Each one of our DAC modules has 16 times the available resources of any Burr-Brown DAC. We aren't constrained by the size of a silicon die or any of the manufacturing or cost constraints of a traditional DAC chip. We also have a much lower output impedance with our DAC modules, which eliminate the need for any current or IV converter buffers on the output. The result is going to be a more accurate, detailed sound than what you can get with a traditional chip.
As you move from 2 prime DACs in the discrete to 4 prime DACs in the Premier to 4 hybrid DACs in the reference, what is a client getting sonically with each step up?
When you go from 2 modules to 4 modules, or in the reference from 4 modules to 8 modules, every time you double the number of modules, it halves the output impedance. While this is useful for having a lower output impedance, it also gives you better accuracy because you are summing the output of multiple channels in parallel.
As we increase the DAC modules in each DAC, you're increasing that resolution that allows you to create a much more natural and beautiful sound from instruments and voices. It's that lifelike presence that is so hard to achieve with digital reproduction.
On your website, you say that the, quote, reference DAC produces an unmatched level of detail, unquote. When I go to Walt Disney Concert Hall, I'm not thinking about how much detail I'm going to be hearing. Why, in your view, is more and more detail necessarily a good thing in terms of achieving a convincing illusion of live music in the home?
You're not wrong with that question. When it comes to detail and digital reproduction, it's actually kind of a murky discussion because there are a couple different aspects to talk about. When digital reproduction first started, everyone was very excited about the amount of detail you're able to get, but it came at the cost of digital harshness from jitter and other digital artifacts. So then we began to start masking over digital reproduction, making it smoother, but we were losing that detail, but it made it more comfortable to listen to. So in the industry, there's a lot of ways to look at it. And for us, what we're trying to avoid is this idea of perceived detail that might come at other costs, and really focus on representing that actual lifelike representation. So as your dynamic range increases, as your noise floor drops, you're getting that immense sense of detail without the digital fatigue. And that's something that our customers have come to love and expect of an MSB product, and it's something that we're going to continue to push for.
The current DAC models have been around for several years. I understand the Digital Director as an effort to update and to extend the life of the existing DACs. But have there been no technological improvements in fundamental DAC architecture in the last few years that would occasion a wholesale update to the prime DAC itself or the hybrid DAC itself?
When we developed the hybrid DAC module and then later the prime DAC module, we thought about the future when we were developing them. The actual modules themselves are much more capable than any process we currently need them to do. They are capable of much higher data speeds than what we currently run them at, and every single one of them was designed with this in mind. So, as we've wanted to make improvements in our overall DAC design, we realized that where we can do improvements is things like the digital director. We developed it to get, improvements for the digital filtering and the processing around it. So basically, we haven't needed to work on changing the DAC module design yet because we still haven't reached the limitations of what the actual DAC module is capable of.
Yeah, we often refer to the DAC conversion as the digital engine that does a focused task, something that's designed as a tool, and everything else around it. All those other systems are areas where we can manipulate how we process data, how we handle data, digital noise, and all new formats and technologies as they evolve.
Why not just update the DAC products themselves and include the digital director in the existing, perhaps larger box?
This is something we actually thought about doing at the beginning. But the problem is with the more powerful processor, it's running much, much faster, and therefore it creates more electrical noise on the circuit board. So any benefits you would get from having a much more advanced digital filter processor are going to be hurt by the fact that they create more electrical noise. So instead of sticking it in the box and calling it the reference to, we decided to make the digital director to keep all the processing in an external chassis, completely isolated using our ProISL interface between the director and the DAC. So instead of replacing all our current models, we gave them all a new life with this new product.
Yeah, this is something we've had a lot of experience with, through different products over the years, like our external Pro USB, where we took that computer USB interface out of the chassis and ran it through a fiber optic connection. And just that alone, eliminating that computer noise, was a major improvement in the playback. So when it comes to something like this, we separate our power bases from our DACs to get our incoming power noise further away, transformers further away from the DAC conversion. So this is one of those opportunities where we had to, push the envelope, where it does add some cost to have it as an external chassis. But, one of our goals is always to go further with what we can do with digital playback. And so having that separate digital director chassis was one of those avenues that we had to pursue just to get the best performance possible.
What do each of you hear the digital director doing sonically?
So when we first plugged in the digital director, it was just the circuit board out of a case, put it on the ground, and we wanted to hear what it could do. And genuinely, we looked at each other and thought, was the system we were comparing before broken in comparison to what the digital director could do? It took soundstage to a new level. The definitions, the clarity, the blackness in the background, like that quiet atmosphere you could get in certain recordings. It was a completely different experience, and we started with that and then went through many, many revisions because the new digital filtering that we have in there is something that's really, really special, and it's something you've just got to sit down and listen to.
The Premier DAC is $28,000. The digital director for the Premier is $15,000, so that's $43,000. But the reference DAC itself is $55,000. So for another 30% above the Premier plus the Premier director, you can get the next level up, the reference. How do we go about deciding whether to get a certain model with the director or just jump to the next model up?
Purchasing a digital director for your DAC is about halfway to the next DAC level. So really, it's a nice intermediate step if you're trying to upgrade your system. So there's no real bad decision when choosing to go either a higher end DAC or adding the director to your current system. Deciding between those two will come down to a couple factors. One of those is the source you end up using, and the other thing is long-term like system goals. So one of the things that we do at MSB is we offer a 100% buyback and upgrade path from one model to the next. So if you purchase the Premier DAC, and you love the performance, you can do a 100% trade-in towards a reference DAC. It's something that we've done for a number of years, and it allows people to pick up a system and hear what they're listening to, and then evaluate the reference and see what aspects change. So with the digital director adding to the Premier DAC, for a server source, it's going to be a really incredible upgrade. It brings like more of that soundstage control that is just really, really phenomenal, and a lot of benefits there. But when you upgrade to the reference DAC, you're getting a better clock and better DAC modules, which is going to give you a little bit more of that beauty in the details of the music. So there are pros and cons, to choosing one over the other. But I think the way that we like to do it is the idea of the Premier Director is it supports current Premier DACs. It supports a system that is a little bit more versatile in that it's going to sound really good in a lot more systems. It's a little bit more controlled with that director. And then, if that's something that people fall in love with, reference is waiting for them.
Why does the Premier use a switching power supply? I thought it was MSB's philosophy not to use switching power supplies due to concern about noise.
So in principle, we don't like switching power supplies because they do create more noise. So what we've done is to get the price point of the Premier Digital Director down, we had to incorporate the power supply. And to incorporate a linear power supply would just make the cost too cost prohibitive to go with our Premier DAC. The noise generated by the switching power supply in the Premier Director is not as important as if it was inside a DAC, because the entire digital director is isolated from the DAC using our fiber interface. We would never stick a switching power supply in the same chassis as the DAC or the clock. But since it's a pure digital product completely isolated, we felt that the cost to performance was perfectly acceptable to do.
Yeah, everything about the director is designed to eliminate that incoming noise. So it's sort of a dirty box before the rest of the system, and that allows us to kind of put up a wall between the director and the rest of the system. So it makes that focus on the power supply a little less important for the Premier.
A lot of MSB's philosophy is about reducing the noise floor. When I go to Walt Disney Concert Hall, I'm not thinking about noise floor or background noise. How is the technical achievement of low noise floor in the digital domain contribute to believability of music in our homes?
So our DACs, when we focus, the focus isn't just on noise floor. The lower the noise floor, it's a result of a more accurate, more detailed, more precise DAC. If you have incredible accuracy and control over the output, low noise floor comes along with it. And you can't get the resolution of our DACs if the electrical noise is so high that it elevates the noise floor. All the little details will just get lost.
Yeah, a lot of the measurements that we focus on are metrics that we use to see the performance of other things that are happening. It's not, low noise floor isn't the goal, but low noise floor is the result of good DAC design.
Does the concept of voicing play a role in your design and evaluation process? How do you two decide what you want your components to sound like?
We don't voice our equipment the way the term voicing is used in our industry. We don't design for one person's perspective of what something should sound like. If a recording is harsh, it should be harsh. If it's soft, it should be soft. So what we do is we don't listen one person's opinion. We listen as a team, and we all agree what sounds live. Our reference is always live. We go and listen to live music. We want to hear live music in here. If it's a harsh instrument, it should be harsh. If it's detailed, it should be detailed. If it's smooth, it should be smooth.
Yeah, and all of those tests are always 100% done as a blind A/B test. We always want to eliminate biases coming into a listening session, and it's sit down, listen, and give that honest feedback of what sounds more accurate and realistic.
Yeah, and we don't listen to one type of music either for development. We will go through rap, R&B, electronic, jazz, classical, single instrument, single voices, concerts, symphonies, you name it. We listen to every genre of music and make sure that we aren't helping one type and hurting another. We want to work to where everything is elevated and the performance is increased.
Do different power chords affect the sound of your DACs?
As an electronics manufacturer in the high-end space, we do understand that there are, there's a lot of ways you can tune a system. It's oftentimes the Formula One equations used of like, this is a race car. What can we do to get every little bit out of it? And when it comes down to power chords, I've listened to what feels like hundreds of power chords at this point, and I have heard differences in different ways, and they affect systems differently. And that interaction between the power chords and the speaker cables, the speaker in the room, it's like an infinite matrix of mystery and deciphering things through. So the way we look at power chords is, this is something that we don't ever want to tell our fans or our customers, this is the one power chord to use, because that's not feasible, it's not realistic, and that's not what we've found. And our feedback is always, get these things in your listening room, try them out, evaluate, listen, demo, and find the things that you enjoy, and that they change the sound in a way that you enjoy, if that's what you're looking for.
Is there a particular USB cable that you recommend to connect your DACs to a source?
So similarly to the question on the power cables, again, we're not going to give any recommendations for cables. With USB, it's a very high frequency interface. You need to make sure you have a quality cable that is made to USB specifications. So just be cautious with getting high-end handmade cables if they don't meet specification for computers.
Just make sure that any USB cable has all 4 conductors connected, the ground connected, and I tend to say avoid ones with batteries in them.
What loudspeakers do you have in your system where you design and test components?
So as designers of digital equipment, it's important for us to actually cycle through a variety of speakers. So, latching on to a specific speaker model would actually be a disservice to us as a development company, because, if we tune our system to sound good on a speaker, then we've basically neglected all the other speaker manufacturers out there. And I think that's one of those tricky situations as a manufacturer in this space, because there is a lot of pressure to usually stick with a specific brand, have that loyalty to a speaker company. But again, it's something that we view as a service to our customers, is to have a collection of speakers that we evaluate when we're developing, because it's going to be different. If we design a system and we try it on a bookshelf speaker versus a full standing speaker, it's just 2 different applications, and I think it's important for us to really do the work of evaluating on these different speakers.
What is going on in your research department? What is the next new product we should expect from MSB?
Well, R&D is actually the most fun we have. It's our focus here at the company. So my role at the company is more of a focus on mechanical design and the manufacturing space. So we recently purchased a new robotics cell in the machine shop that does 24-hour-a-day manufacturing. We've got all kinds of different areas that we're playing with new ways to make our products better. Jonathan can talk to you a little bit about our SMT line and the ways we've been improving the circuit board manufacturing, which actually has direct correlation with quality of the performance of our products.
Yeah, so R&D is not just new product development. It is also, development on just our manufacturing. So in our SMT department, we've been incorporating new equipment, new pieces of technology in there to improve our reliability. The last time we ran our DAC modules, we had a 99.9% off-the-line working passing rate, which is unheard of in SMT assembly world. But in the other component of development is we are engineers. We are always working on something new. We never announce what we're working on, because there are many times that we have developed a product through to completion, decided the performance wasn't there, and shelved it. And so we don't want to work
until we sit down and listen to something, it's not a it's not a product that we want to talk about or even bring up in conversation, because for us, we have so many irons in the fire that, you know, I think it could definitely be a confusing world to navigate if we were talking about these products before they actually became official.
Yeah, a good example of that would be our ProASL interface. We actually developed and had the ProASL interfacing working 5 years before we told anyone about it. Before we even thought of using it for the USB as the first product or our transport. When we first developed it, every component in the chain made it so expensive that it would have doubled the cost of our products. But as fiber became more readily available, and it's now in most people's homes, the cost of the materials dropped, 1,000%, making it possible.
In terms of R&D, I will say that, both Jonathan and I are still feel like we're just getting started with how effective we are in developing and designing new products. And we see the future of MSB in a very exciting light. Very, just really stoked to see the potential that we have to create new and amazing products, and we're really looking forward to showing you what we come up with. Thank you, What's Best Forum, for taking some time to hear what we have to say. We're excited to share those updates with you, and enjoy.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Jonathan. This has been very informative. And if you have liked this video, please kindly click like and subscribe to the What's Best Forum YouTube channel.